We are moving forward for the first panel discussion for the day. That's on how can D2C brands or startups build their Martech marketing technology stack from the ground up. Before we start, I would ask one question from all of you, that in today's time, how do you think that digitization is helping the brands to grow in the industry? If anyone would like to answer that. We can give them mic. If anyone would like to take this question up before we start our first panel discussion. All right, so our first panel is on, as I told you, how can D2C brands or startup build their Martech stack from the ground up. For this, I would like to welcome Mr. Akshay Matkar, who is the head of marketing and branding Candor. Can we please put our hands together? I would like to take the honor of inviting Mr. Akshay on stage. We have Ms. Disha Singh, who is the founder and CEO from Zook. Please welcome, ma'am. We have Mr. Rahul Marwa, who is the Vice President, Media Activation India Essence. Please welcome, sir. I would take immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Rohan Chincholi, who is the Head, Digital Services, India Havas Media Group. Please welcome Mr. Rohan. Along with him, we have Mr. Rohan Chincholi. Okay, he's already there. Mr. Ronak Parekh, who is the session chair. I would like to welcome him, Head of Audience Sciences, Wavemaker India. Please welcome. Mr.
Hello? Audible? Audible, right? Cool. So, good morning, everyone. And it's lovely to be here with this great company. So just a little bit of context, right? The India D2C story has been a very impressive one, right? As of 21, there have been around 800 plus D2C brands in our country. And the D2C market is expected to reach anywhere between $60 billion to $100 billion by 25, as per various reports. The D2C sector has been one of the most impressive sectors for the year 21. From the sector seeing the first unicorn Licious to several brands like Mamaearth, Wakefit, Boat, crossing the 100 crores of revenue in such a short span of time, the developments in the D2C sector are no small deal. Now, what has actually fueled this growth, right? As per a Deloitte survey, consumers are expecting a very deep relationship with the brands, right? They just don't want packages left at their doorsteps. They're expecting brands to understand them, have more meaningful relationship with them. And the other interesting trend is what is actually leapfrogged this sector is the fact that because e-commerce is actually accelerated by 5 to 7 years because of COVID. That has had huge ramifications on the D2C sector as well, right? And that's fueled the growth for this sector in a very, very significant way. So with that as a context, we will move to the topic of the day, that the Martech tech roadmap for D2C brands and understanding the entire world and spectrum of D2C a little better, right? So we've got everyone here on the panel and we'll get started, right? So now, D2C brands are actually supposed to be very, very agile. They're more adept at understanding the consumer pain points, right? So if I can start with you, so what are some of the tenets which the D2C brands actually, which help D2C brands actually address consumer pain points in a very, very agile way?
So, at Zook, right, so just to give you a background, right, so we are a lifestyle brand, we are into bags, wallet and accessories, and we recently forayed into footwear, right? So we are a 4-year-old company, right? So when we started, there was largely not a very, D2C per se word, right? When we started at that time, we were one of the few brands which started with D2C and then moved to marketplaces, right? Most of the brands that time were built on the marketplace model, and now recently, given so many tools have come and, Indian consumer has become more comfortable with shopping online and giving their card details to, any website, if I have to say, right? Apart from Amazon and Flipkarts of the world, right? So we started at that time with D2C. What we realize has helped tremendously for us has been that giving your customer the right product with the right experience. So now the era of only giving a good product has gone, right? The consumer not only expect a good product, from you, right, at the right price point given it's India, right, but also an experience pre-purchase and post-purchase, right? So you have to, as a D2C brand, or for that matter, I feel any brand which wants to grow in today's India has to give an overall experience to the consumer, which begins with a consumer getting to know about you. Say, like, when the consumer has bought from you, right? Given there are so many avenues and there are so many, D2C companies who are doing fabulous job at customer experience, right? It is like extremely important. And, as you said that D2C has to be more agile, given that the feedback loop that we have is very short, right? And it's very, very quick to have the feedback as well, right? So you can implement faster, correct your processes and move ahead, right? So that's what we have been implementing, and that has helped us grow in the last 4 years.
Akshay, you can kind of give us your thoughts on the same.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I think D2C brands are basically Gen Zs of all the businesses. So I think adapting new technology, I think it starts with D2C brand and then it moves to the other brands. What makes us agile is basically D2C brands has an advantage to experiment at smaller scale, to A/B test a lot of things before introducing the product to the market. So you experiment a lot. You experiment the products in the closer group, like Priya also mentioned. There are test groups, there are open groups, etc. The experiment that we do. So that allows us to experiment a lot before launching and announcing the product to the larger markets. So I think that's the advantage I feel that the D2C brand has over the
Legacy brands.
Legacy brands.
Okay. If you could just kind of build on this, both of you, Disha and Akshay, how have you seen the consumer evolve in your respective categories? For example, COVID fueled a lot of consumer changes, right? So for your brand, which is lifestyle, which is jewelry, for example, how do you see how the consumers evolved? And, it'll be interesting if you could also say that, because, are you using any sort of tech support or Martech capabilities, in terms of feedback loop to understand the consumers a lot better? And how do you sort of then incorporate those learnings into the business models?
So to start with, like our category, unfortunately was the last adopter of the digital space. Like jewelry सबसे last आया है. The entire innovation and the adoption in the digital, the jewelry category was last. So I think after COVID and like because of the COVID, it's like basically a lot of larger brands also got interested and started expanding to the digital. So rather than consumer behavior, I think it was the business behavior of the other brands coming online that benefited us. So tier 1, it was already there. Tier 1 on metro, it was already there. But I think the tier 2s and tier 3 cities, I mean, they started transacting online, they started searching online. And the penetration is still there. And I think you see like the entire category and our competitors are expanding more and focusing more on the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So I think we did some research and we found out that those brands, like people staying in tier 2, tier cities, so if you look at the jewelry industry, right? So 90% is unorganized and it's only 10% organized there. For them, I think they still prefer and aim to shop like a metro person. And hence, I think online is the space where they can experiment.
For us, I don't know, anybody who knows about Zook, right? So we have been saying proudly Indian and 100% vegan way back. Like, so Atmanirbhar came very recently, but we have been saying proudly Indian for quite some time, right? And we very proudly also used to say that we are a 100% vegan brand, right? And people used to be like, yaar, vegan to food hota hai, right? Tum kya lifestyle bech rahe hai, right? So it started with that, right? So a lot of lifestyle changes has happened in India, right? Veganism is becoming more
very
mainstream, right? Not only in the eating habits, but also a lifestyle. And it's the easiest to give away with, right? If you ask a non-vegetarian to leave stop a non-veg diet, it's much difficult, but choosing a bag which is vegan is much easier, right? So the changes in terms of lifestyle has definitely happened, right? And as Akshay said that initially all the D2C brands were very focused on the tier 1 audience, given they were more convinced to, or maybe have more opportunities or good Wi-Fi for that matter, right, to shop online, right? But because of Jio, thanks to Jio, right, tier 2, tier 3 has like really boomed in for us as well. Like We used to be very heavily dependent on tier 2, tier 1, tier 2 2 years back, right? Now the split is very equal across the board, right? So that is one in terms of the consumers being comfortable with buying online, adopting new lifestyle choices, and also ready to experiment with the new brands has come up, right? So these has actually helped fuel the whole D2C wave, right? Just to add on the Martech wala bit, right? So we do a lot of, I should say software. So we use softwares on all the different aspects of the brand, right? Like be it your warehousing, operations, on your marketing bit, talking to your consumers. So like ads is not the only bit, right? We also do customer retention. Why? So there are so many platforms which has come up like Web Engage, Mo Engage, and so on and so forth, right? So we use all, and this has actually helped us scale without breaking anything, right? So in automation, definitely, scaling D2C the way we want to scale has really helped because of all the platforms which we have got on all the different domains, right? For us, warehousing and operations, so we use EasyCom, one of the software which helps us, put out our inventory across the platform. We were discussing that we are also present on marketplaces and D2C, right? So how to do that inventory management and stuff, right? So we do a lot of, back-end use of technology, plus in marketing, not only the ads bit that we use and the programmatics which we use. Apart from that, there are a lot of customer retention and royalty applications that we use to engage with our customers.
Great, thank you. So moving on to the agency side of the business, Rahul and Rohan, of course, it'll be interesting to know that from an agency standpoint, right, how do we sort of track the consumer behavior as far as the D2C brands are concerned? She spoke very interestingly about a lot of applications which they have at their disposal, right? A Mo Engage, Web Engage, loyalty thing. So can you just throw some light on that in terms of what we are doing on the agency side of the business for consumer behavior understanding?
All right, so I'll go first. My perspective, I think the moment we talk about D2C brands, there is so much of conversation happening about access to first-party data. And to a large extent, this is going to be real. But there are tools, I think Mo Engage, Web Engage, or there's Adobe Customer Journey Analytic tools. I think these are all going to be critical. And the main reason, is because, when the brands are spending, the biggest difference is when you look at marketplaces, you happen to go at marketplaces for multiple reasons. But when you're coming to a D2C brand very specifically, you are coming with a very clear purpose. I mean, more for D2C brands, I think it's not really about if a user comes and, eventually converts into a sale. I think it's also about understanding and giving a lot of, let me call this educative and informative content, making the navigation very seamless, making the checkout process very seamless. So I think there are tools that help facilitate all of that. I mean, from a media standpoint, I could highlight very critical things. People who put a product in the cart and are not purchasing, you send, and we get these offers. We get these offers after 2 or 3 days saying, hey, we have a 15% off on the same product and it's in your cart. Now imagine something like this not being there. Imagine if 100 people are coming to your website, but for some reason only 2 are moving towards checkout, right? The entire journey from, your homepage to your checkout and the entire discovery that you do in between, how the spillover is happening. And I think those are critical pieces of information that we need to look at, and tools help it. And for D2C brands, the job is very hard, to be very honest, because it's not like a lot of scale, a lot of audiences that are coming to your site. You are investing on a lot of money, a lot of marketing dollars. And I will call for D2C more connections at targeting, right? You find and identify the right cohorts, as against a legacy brand or a B2C brand, where you will look at scale. So I think tools definitely play an important role, and I think we do rely on a whole list of tools. I think there is a tool. The problem is there is a tool for everything. And the onus is not only on the agency, but also on the brands to kind of onboard it, because the data stays with them. So I think that could be my 2 cents about this.
Well, Rohan already said a lot of things, but +1 on that. But I think if we step back, right, the 3 things I think that, agency or works with a brand, specifically on D2C, that they do. One is audience activation. That many of the D2C scale the brands have their own teams in-house. We can help them activate. Second is journey automation, something that Rohan talked about. How do we capture different audiences in different life stages, and how do we cohort them, and how do we go back and retarget? We saw a case study right before this, right? How ICICI Lombard was able to do that. Uh, and the third is audience inciting. Very interesting. I think personally, I want to move away from the world where it's going to be tier 1, tier 2, where we actually normalize audiences in tier 1, tier 2, but actually say this is the audience which is a high propensity to spend and come back to your website, and this is the audience which has low propensity to spend, right? The moment you get into Martech, that's the language that you start talking about instead of talking about, different NCCA or tier 1. No offense, I'm from an agency, but we love that language. But that's what Martech is essentially doing. It's changing the narrative completely to go back and relook at audiences in a very different way.
Akshay, this is a question, right? And I'm very intrigued to know. Now, say for example, jewelry actually, as you very rightly said, has been a very offline business and also largely very unorganized, right? You come from the house of Kalyan Jewelers, right? And Kader is a online extension of that. It'll be very interesting for you to let us know how do you guys as a business or as a company, treat the two lines of business separately, right? Whether it's in terms of product line, whether it's in terms of, the kind of consumers you guys are targeting and so on and so forth, right? Because Kalyan has a certain perception of the kind of jewelry it has. So what has been your approach or strategy as far as Kader is concerned from a D2C standpoint?
So jewelry, right? It is getting consumed for different purposes and occasions. Kalyan basically they own the wedding space of the jewelry, wherein Candere is focused only on the daily wear and the gifting side of the businesses. So though we are in the same industry, we are catering to a different segment of the audience. Geography is also different, wherein Kalyan is focusing on India and Middle East. Candere is focusing only on the metro cities. We are starting to expand on the tier 2 cities audience. So D2C businesses, I think the entire digital part, Candere is taking care of, catering to the millennials mainly, and Kalyan is basically taking care of the audience who is basically around wedding shoppers. So this is how the bifurcations and the demarcation has been done between the two brands.
Sure. I have a question for you, Disha. For example, you said while we were having a chat backstage that you guys are also now foraying into, newer product lines. You also have sort of ambitions to go international and so on and so forth. It'd be very interesting if you could touch upon that. How do you identify these white spaces? White spaces in terms of new product lines? White spaces in terms of geography also, because I think maintaining competitive advantage is not easy in the D2C space. Profitability is always a challenge and so on and so forth. So if you could touch upon that, that would be very interesting.
Sure. So we look at our business, or I think most of the businesses can look at it that way. There are three main pillars for any business, right? One is your product, second is distribution, and third is brand, right? For us, in brand terms, we do a lot of activities across the boards, be it influencers, customer engagement, giving what we promise, and, making use of all the celeb love that we got, and so on and so forth, right? And to make brand as a mode, right? The other two things that you asked me about the product and distribution, so product, when we started with only one line of bags, right? Like our first product was laptop bag, right? And for quite some time, we were growing very, heavily with our laptop bag, right? And more, our customers started asking, why are you not making this? Why are you not making that, right? So, in terms of the product line, the gaps that we see, very frankly speaking, it comes a lot from our consumers, right? And given we are a D2C brand, we keep on doing a lot of surveys, be it on our Instagram, which is a 210K plus followers, and, in total 350K followers across social media, right? So we keep on doing a lot of customer surveys, like, via emails, SMSs, and so on and so forth, just to understand that what more our consumers are expecting from us, right? Like when we launched footwear, very frankly speaking, we were trying to figure out, like, after bags, what else that we should extend into, right? And we floated a survey, and the biggest thing which came up was footwear. Right? So we got that feedback, and it was a very natural extension for a bags brand to get into footwear. You see any international bags brand, they have a footwear segment as well, and some accessories per se, right? So we started with that. So in product line, when we have to start a new category, we definitely take, given customer is a core of our business, we take a lot of input from them, right? In terms of what to develop, depends a lot on what brand proposition we have, plus the category that we are getting into, right? So when we wanted to start the footwear, right, we were very sure that we will create a India-inspired footwear. So if you look at my footwear, it will have that print and look and feel of Indianness, but yet it will be very modern, right? And given in bags, we said that we will not only give you a good looking bag, but also a functional bag, which in the women's space is very lagging, right? Most of the bags that we have are a handbag and, a Western replica, right? So we said that in footwear also we'll get that functionality and give you that comfort, right? So in our footwear, we say that we give you stylishly comfortable footwear, right? So that's how we design our whole, product philosophy, right? And having said that, we will be foraying into more category as well. We have a very strong R&D team in the back of it, which helps us create these amazing products for our consumer, right? So that's in terms of the the product gap. In terms of distribution, so we are an online first brand, right? We have recently forayed into offline as well. So we are in 32 MBOs, in a span of 2 months, which is a very, very small feat in offline, right? What we realized for us was that given there is still a lot of space for us to grow the India online business, we felt that a lot of buying and our consumers still are offline, right? And that's why we started our offline journey. And of course, there will a lot that we'll be doing on our online India space, right? But offline is something that we started to cater to more folks, right? That is in terms of the India business. Given the product that we sell, right, which is an India-inspired modern utility product, we have got a lot of requests and, like we do a bespoke order across the globe for different consumers, right? And again, you will be hearing me talk about a lot about customers on everything, right? Because that's the core for us, right? So they have, like, the first gist of, getting into international came from them itself, right? So a lot of people who come to India, they buy our product and then they go back, they're like, yaar, yahan pe bhi lena hai, but aap to ho nahi, right? And that is how we started. So we are building our initial thesis as to which geographies to get into, right? But distribution, brand, product, for us, everything, customer is the core, right? And that's how we take decisions.
Thanks. Rahul, if I may start with you, typically in agencies, we work with a lot of legacy brands, right, who've been there in the business forever. Now with D2C coming in, what would be your planning or your marketing approach? How would it differ between the legacy brands versus D2C brands? If at all, if there is any difference, the way you approach?
There's a massive difference. Essence is an agency. We are digital first in our DNA. And what happens is one of the biggest difference when you work with a legacy versus a D2C brands is legacy brand starts with a broad-based targeting, a demographic, TG, whereas the D2C brand starts inwards out, which is the first-party data. And that makes so much difference because when a legacy brand comes in place, they usually start from offline distributions in place. Their TG portrait defines a person which has the right age group, the demographics, the geos and all that. The moment you go to a D2C brands, they don't really talk that language and they talk about what are their interest group. Their age brackets are a lot more tighter. Their first party data is the one which is critical. In fact, when we go back to our planning, we actually mine the first party data to take out the audience insight instead of just assuming from a third party tool what the audience is going to be like. So that's a lot more honest, lot more truth. The problem for focus is that a D2C brands eventually wants to become a legacy brand. And a legacy brands, taking the example of Kalyan, wants to get into the D2C's place. Now that's an interesting thing because how fast each of them actually are able to do that is the real battle. And what Martech or any of these tools, and I like the way you said, it's product distribution and the brand, right? Now Martech is now coming across all three layers. It's not coming across one. It's great that you're getting a product feedback. It's great that you can actually tighten your distribution. Of course, you can do a lot more stuff in the brand side of it. So Martech is helping not just in terms of audience sizing and the way you're planning, but it's actually helping a complete end-to-end solution right from the way when the brand has been developed, conceptualized, to the place when it's in the hands of a consumer, right? So that's what it is. But yes, legacy, the brief for the D2C brands is a lot more data-oriented because they swear by their first-party data. And I think that's the right way of doing it.
Sure. You want to go ahead, Rohan?
Yeah. So I think completely agree. I think there is a massive difference. I think I can point this difference out from first the planning methodology itself, right? Now, the moment you talk about legacy brands or B2C, maybe the end objective is not necessarily a tangible action like a sale happening. But D2C brands very specifically are looking at all possible data pointers to ensure is the media working harder to deliver that sale. Now, very innovative products also coming out, right? They are able to understand, and so many examples that we have had just now to say that they want newer set of products, and they're talking directly to the brand, to the owners, and owners are playing a huge role in kind of understanding their customers. So definitely very cohorted plans, cost per sale model, everyday optimization, the creative and decision making, whether it's decision making on creative or plans or tools, is very fast. It's just that one meeting, you sit across the table and you say, here are the 3 or 4 pain points and here are the 3 or 4 quick wins that we can do. The decision is taken and the implementation starts tomorrow. And I think it's a lot of marketing money that is not going to, let's say, distributors or any margins anywhere, which is being put for media. So definitely a huge difference. But again, there is also a fact that once they hit a critical mass and they've got a certain amount of sales, and then when they have to scale up, that is when they go from a very cohort-driven to slightly more broader. Because, the biggest challenge in digital also is that when we create too many cohorts, we have taken too many assumptions to say, my consumer is this. But by going with slightly broader, which is the classic difference between an affinity targeting to an in-market targeting, maybe the prospecting audience on affinity really picks up. So yeah, I think a lot of differences definitely on the ways of thinking and the behavior of consumer that they look at.
Sure. Just to build on that, a lot of advertising is in-house, right? It's managed in-house by a lot of these D2C brands. So do you see that as an opportunity or a threat? And where do you see agencies coming in and sort of value adding more? Or how are we as an agency ecosystem gearing up to meet some of the challenges they are facing as D2C brands?
All right. So I think it's, to be very honest, increasingly there is a lot of brands looking at hiring teams in-house. The classic difference is the agency has experience across multiple categories, multiple tools. They meet with so many people with fresher perspectives, which may not be the reality when it comes to, let's say a founder or an owner or a CEO of a D2C brand to be able to invest that time. They would still have to rely on someone that is able to kind of plug all the, let me call these all the threads together, stitch it, and then present it. So there is, definitely a need for agencies to act more as consultants, considering, brands are looking at hiring teams in-house. But I think the last 2 or 3 discussions that we have had on D2C brands very specifically, even the brands are very open. They are saying, look, here is the team that we have. We want you to tag team along with them to kind of come up with the right solution. So I think the ecosystem will be a well balanced between an in-house plus something that the agency has to offer of value.
Rahul, your thoughts?
I think as an agency, we are in a very happy place. The reason for that is we've got massive team across regions, APAC, global, and we got massive case studies, and we got a lot of how to solve for a business problem with us, right? And that kind of makes us unique. While a brand can put an audience activation team inside and make it happen, but the problem they're trying to solve is much larger. It's a business problem, right? And that's where they will need a lot of point of views, not just on tools, but on the ways of working, on the team structure. How do we really measure? What are the what are the similar brands that you worked on? And that's where agency comes in, right? And so it's not about, and I agree to Rohan, it's not about just, setting up a team just for activating campaigns, but it's about consultants And I think we've been able to do that for quite a few D2C brands that we work with. And we continue to work very closely with our partners, like Google and many others, right? And we are forever evaluating. How are we really changing this? The next part of your question is what we are doing as an agency setup is we are building expert matter subjects people in our company, right? In our agency. So we have people who dedicatedly looking at different set of products and they specialize in it. And of course, along with that, we are upskilling our planners. So that's easy. But overall, I don't think agency versus, it's still not agency versus brand because agencies do get a point of view which, if a brand wants a faster growth, it takes them a long time to get there.
Sure. Would you agree? So I would love to actually understand your point of view on agencies. Firstly, I want to ask a question too. Both of you have some agencies on board. Zook and
I do
and,
have, yeah.
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 And what's the role? And it'd be interesting, if you could tell us what is the ideal role you would want them to play? Something probably which is potentially missing in your ecosystem and so on and so forth. Like how Rahul probably mentioned about the whole consultancy angle and so on and so forth. And you can be candid.
Sure, I saw that coming. Before that, how many of them here are here from brand side? And how many of them are here from agent side? All right, that helped me answer like which side I need to take, a pro or con. So basically, I think we work with a lot of agencies, both in India and international, for different use cases. The broad answer is like currently now on the brand side team, it is not much of performance marketing. It has moved to product marketing. I think you require product marketeers in the brands, and I think because I think on the agent side, like they mentioned, Rahul, that they are expert on the platforms. So let them do their job, and I think the in-house team should take care of the product marketing because they are there, like they have a different set of questions, and then this team has a different set of questions from a KPI standpoint. Here you require a team who basically can help you get profitability. There you require a team who can get you good quality audience, etc. So I think both the KPIs are different. So I think in-house, though I think currently our ratio is like 50% of the job is done by agency and 50% is done in-house. Certain use cases like I would like to say is like SEO. Like our category, like we have 10,000 products. अभी कोई भी SEO agency को देते हैं हम काम देंगे. So it's like basically there are what 1,000 URL and then the code you get. I mean it's practically impossible. So I think certain use cases you have to build in-house and certain use cases you have to give. Based on the use cases, you have to build the teams and let the subject matter experts do their job. In-house team का काम अलग है and the agencies has to play a different role. And both the teams working together I think can help you achieve business goal faster. This is what I feel.
I think SEO is a very particular problem in your category for sure.
Do you have an agency, Disha?
So we do have, but we do have for different use cases. So we have an agency for our affiliate marketing. We have we recently started tracking our brand health, right? So for that we have an agency. For SEO we have a set of freelancers who works with us, right? But core marketing, no, right? So in fact, core marketing I think I have been doing for very long time, given I come from a background saying that a founder needs to know how the sale is done, right? And that's how we have built the business, right? But I totally agree, and I think I resonate with it more and more that maybe you can go from that 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 wala journey building teams in-house, right? But when you're moving to that 10 to 100 or 200 or 300 wala journey, right, is something that you should involve more expert in the field, right? People take a lot of pride in building the teams in-house and stuff, right? And I think some part of it will still be in-house, right? But it's very, very important that the folks who are in the industry for years together, who sees brands across the different domain and can tell you that what are the current trends, how are the CACs trending across the domain, what are the new tools coming in the picture, is not something that you can build in-house and should ideally build in-house, right? Only the core sale part of it you can still keep in-house, right? But everything associated with that, I think the agency is the best, team to go to.
That's good to hear. Okay. So Disha, if I may just like kind of link it to what you said, that how do I move from 10 to 100, right? And the whole scaling up of D2C is very, very critical. But what are some of the challenges you face as a owner to scale up a D2C brand, if at all you're facing? What really comes in your way? See, when you're starting off, it's a little easier. But when you want to go from a 10 to 100, how is it that you plan to do that?
So we are in that journey right now, and there are challenges across the board, right? Like if you ask me business wise, क्या challenges? So I have lots, right? From different like ये order नहीं गया कि ये picking नहीं हो रहा है and all those things, right? But see, the most important bit is this, that you will face challenges in every journey, 0 to 10, 10 to 100 and beyond, so say, right? There will be very different challenges that you will face in all the different, right? We never had a problem of कि हमारे dispatches नहीं हो रहे when we were very small, right? या फिर दिवाली के लिए एक दिन छुट्टी हो गई for that matter, right? But when you are playing at a scale, right, there's a lot of different kinds of problems which comes, right, which the brand has to be very ready to adopt to, right? And that is where you take help from the expert in the different fields, right? Let's say, as said, that we started tracking brand health, right, which we did do 6 months back, right? Now we are at a stage where we need to understand that how our consumer perceives the brand and what kind of communication we have to put across the board, right? Like now we are getting into offline and we need to realize that what we need to write on the standees or when we are building our standalone stores, right? So there are different challenges that the brand faced, right? See, in terms of demand, I don't think so there is any challenge per se. Like given India, post-COVID, it's been healthy for, I'm assuming, for almost all the D2C brand and the legacy brand. Like in general, consumerism has increased, right? So in terms of demand, there is no problem, right? We see a lot of opportunity in India, and then, as I was saying, that the kind of product we are in, we will also be, trending different geographies, right? So demand is not a problem, but how do you cope up with the scale, right, without breaking anything is something that the brand has to, keep on learning every day in, day out, right? And that we are trying to be as agile as possible so that we don't break anything in the process, right? And we hope that, we don't.
Rahul and Rohan, do you have any examples of any D2C brands you worked on the agency side, and if you can tell them how have you helped them scale up, or anything like that?
Without taking the name, actually. But yeah, we work with a lot of brands who kind of started their journey with us, and we've been working with them for many, many years. We've been lucky that some of them also became unicorn, but in the matter of confidentiality, I'm not going to say the names. But what really happened and what we figured out exactly is, Disha pretty much mentioned that, when they were small, we were all doing, everything was manual. Excel, get onto the data, open up Google Analytics, figure out, make assumptions, spends late night. But the moment the audience starts increasing, the orders starts increasing, the brand spend starts increasing, it's impossible to do that, right? And that's where we got the Martech tools coming in. That's where we got machine learning coming in. There are certain brands that we actually deployed machine learning to make cohorts in terms of the targeting. The moment, right from doing a A/B testing manually to an A/B testing at scale is something that really worked on. So there are brands that we worked with where we saw right from Excels to machine learnings to putting Martech stacks and then achieving scale. The good thing is the agility that one needs to have. I think the word actually is agility from both sides of the teams is required, right? And we've seen from a very agile team to a very thinking team developing, right? Because they start asking the right questions, because the questions change from what is the conversion rate, what is cost per conversion, to what is the lifetime value of a user, what kind of percentage of how do we retain our users back? So those questions change over a period of time the moment we got those tools in. And I think it's been a great journey for us with some to actually see that happening all throughout.
Rohan?
Yeah, so I think I will again not take the name, but this is the mattress brand. Very interesting, in the entire journey, we started the campaigns with controlling more cost per acquisition. But then we realized there is some problem on the website because, I think it's not just the media or targeting. I think it's also the website that plays a very important part in conversion, right? So we identified that on certain Android devices, the banners or the communication or the buy now button had some challenges. Where were people, so using tools like Hotjar, where are people giving more emphasis on? That was the second part. And then came to the fact that, which naturally comes saying that I heard about brand health, right? One of the strongest indicators of brand health could be people searching for your brand or direct or organic traffic to your website. Now, if that is a challenge, then, the classic case comes into how can we do a brand campaign to make people, so rather prospecting campaign to get more and more people into the funnel. So I think this is, a key differentiator. Like, I think it becomes a very step-by-step process. You focus on conversions, then you understand where the, fallout is happening, then you improve the conversion rate, then you're looking for scale. So I think the media choices also go up in that manner. But while doing all of this, you are always accountable for even a brand spends to result indirectly even to conversion. So I think that could be the journey that I've personally witnessed.
Sure. Moving to you, Rahul and Disha, right? It'd be nice if you could talk through a D2C versus marketplace. What's the role of marketplaces as far as your brands are concerned? Whoever wants to go first, Rahul, Disha.
Okay. So we started with D2C and then moved to marketplaces. For us, D2C will always be that channel where we own the whole customer experience, right? And where we want to introduce our customers to the newer categories and everything that we bring into our ecosystem, right? D2C helps us really, as I was saying, that the touch points are extremely important in the whole journey. Now it's not a plug purchase ho gaya and now tata bye bye, right? It's very important to retain a customer. It's very important to keep them happy if they are coming back or not, right? Because the word of mouth and how digital savvy we are, we have to put that hashtag, we are here and stuff, right? So people talk a lot, right? So it's extremely important. So for us, D2C is that channel where we own the whole experience and we want to give our consumer a certain kind of experience which we have the full control on. Marketplaces is a place where you get the scale. Given, even though D2C has been scaling heavily for us and for a lot of other brands as well, but at the end of the day, a lot of consumers are comfortable buying on the marketplaces, right? Be it on Amazon, Myntra, or any, like for us, it's my Amazon, Myntra, Nykaa, and so on and so forth, right? So those platforms give you the scale, right? You might not able to, retain the customer experience because that's on the platform, right? But that gives you the scale. And of course, if you give your consumer the right product, right? I'm sure that, if they buy from your D2C or marketplaces, it should not matter so much, right? We have been getting queries where people, buy from marketplaces and tell us कि यार ये problem आ गया था, I just bought it 1 week back, but Amazon इसमें कुछ कर नहीं रहा है, right? So we have taken that queries also because, see, at the end of the day, our product is going to the consumer, right? So we look at distribution only in terms of how we are reaching our consumer. The onus of keeping our customer happy is at the end of the day with us only.
Sure.
For us, basically, it's like a distribution channel, like Blue Ocean strategy. Like we have opened up their store as well. So we have our website, we have store, and then we have marketplaces. Some interesting data point. Basically, I think I was reading the searches that are happening on Google search engines, Google, and on the marketplaces. It's not very far behind. The marketplaces are not far behind. I think by 2030, it is expected that the search queries on the search engines and the marketplaces are going to reach the same level. So we cannot ignore. So, but it's like I mentioned, it's part of our Blue Ocean strategy. Like it's we think it and we look at it from a product discovery standpoint. We want to be present everywhere where the customer is searching for.
This question is especially for you, Akshay, because you have a legacy business also in terms of Kalyan Jewelers. What we're seeing today is a lot of legacy brands are also entering into the the D2C space. What would be your piece of advice to them, right, from a structure standpoint or a marketing standpoint or any other parameter you would like to touch upon? What is it that they should not do probably also? It'd be very interesting to know, right?
So I think this is what we call internally like 4-point mantra for D2C brands. I think which we also adopt, and it's not only us. Like there are a lot of successful brands that have adopted it and tried and tested it. So I think you have to solve for discovery, like I mentioned. Wherever the consumers are, you be present there. Second, on the personalization and the personalization. So when we talk about personalization, usually like I interact with few people. सबको लगता है personalization basically email में hi अक्षय बोल दो personalization हो गया. It's not that. It's like basically you're reminding customers like उनको नाम याद नहीं दिलाना है. So the combination of personalization and contextual is important. Third, you have to plan for retention from day zero. So regardless, like this is the mistakes that we did like internally for Candid as well. So so that's the reason I was wondering, like we have brand team, we have agency team, platform team भी रहते तो मजा आता था. So basically, so I think it's very important for all these three teams to be on same page. Usually, I think the metrics that all the three teams look at are different, right? Though they work on the same objective, but usually KPIs today अलग हो जाता है. And the fourth point is how will you focus on your product segments, ताकि you can get and you can keep your margins intact. So I think these are the four things that we need to focus on. Tried and tested model worldwide for a lot of D2C brands. We also have started practicing it. So I think anyone emerging player, I think they can focus on this 4 point, I feel.
Sure. Now moving on to, ROI. That's like the cornerstone of any business, right? Would like to start with you and then move on to you. How would you look at the ROI metrics for a D2C brand, right? And Rahul, you spoke about customer lifetime value, profitability, and likewise for you. If you could just shed some light on it.
It's a gradual journey. It's not going to happen day one. The day one, you need to understand the objective is to get the conversion and come to a critical mass. You will be focusing on conversion rate. You will be focusing on cost per conversion. The moment you get scale, you need to move away from those vanity metrics to kind of more quality metrics or lifetime value or quality value. You can define it. But your North Star metrics has to move away from a conversion rate to a lifetime value of a user. Now, a lifetime value for a user in different category means different. An example of Akshay could be one person buying a piece of jewelry maybe once in 2 years, an online mattress maybe once in 3 years, right? So lifetime value differs for every category from one another. So it takes time. It's okay to start from vanity metrics like conversion, but over a period of time, if you're not focusing on the North Star metrics and you're not able to define that, then it becomes a problem because you keep focusing on an end smaller objective and you really don't scale up to the level that you should be.
I think from my side, ROI, I mean, honestly, all conversations, ROI is very clear. I've spent so much, how much sale or ROS is what I've got. I think that will continue. Larger metrics, I think somewhere down the line for them would be brand health, which came out very strongly and we highlighted. Brand health can be many things, right? On social, it could be positive sentiments, replying to the simplest of highs that you send to the brand, to addressing queries. It can also be about your organic website traffic, because I think that is a very strong indicator, right? People may come and not buy, but are organically people coming to your site and reviewing your new products. I'm sure brands send out a lot of emailers. Do you unsubscribe to emailers? Again, a strong qualifier, right? I don't want to hear about the brand. So I think larger metrics is, eventually we'll talk about market share. I think that will be the end goal for anyone, but very, volatile as a market, newer brands coming in, newer price points, much more affordable. So definitely for now, everyone's focusing on ROS.
So I'll keep it short. So for any D2C brand or for any brand for that matter, right, product market fit is everything. So if you have product market fit, then you don't have to discount much. You don't have to worry about whether first sale mein aa raha hai ki nahi aa raha hai, right? Season mein aayega ki nahi aayega and stuff, right? So I think if you have the product market fit, I think then you can begin with conversion rate and then move toward LTV, right? But over the period of time, you will become profitable, right?
I think intersection of lifetime value and your CPA, cost per acquisition. So where does the intersection happen? I think that's very key point.
Cool.
Usually, generally, like I made that mistakes. Like we were just focusing on first 3 years, we were focusing on optimizing for CPA. Then we were focusing on increasing the lifetime value. But now I think we know where the intersection happens.
Yeah, cool. And just time's up, but one quick note, right? Now, just to summarize, and we'll keep this super quick, talk about one D2C brand apart from the one you guys work on and which really inspires you. So we'll go with you.
So I think there's a brand called Snitch, based out of Bangalore. Like, they are into menswear. They are doing, I think, all things right. I think probably 5 years down the line they're going to give very tough competition, because currently when you talk about who is doing best content marketing, सब लोग एक ही नाम बोलेंगे, Zomato. But it's not only what how good your copies are, but how well that copies are translated into, and how contextually you're targeting the users. So I think I look up to the brand. I think the brand is born 2 years back, but I think that they are doing good.
For me, there's not one, right? So I love a lot of D2C brand. I have huge respect for them, right? Wow Skin Sciences is one who has built the business from international to India, right? Rene Cosmetics, previously they were the owners of Beardo, and they have built 2 brands which, consumers love. They're amazing in content, right? Mama Earth for sure, right? So I think I can keep on naming a lot of them.
Sure.
For me, it's quickly Bombay Shirt Company. I think, the amount of customization and that UI lets you customize literally everything and makes you obviously believe that, there is much more to just shirt, just being simply a shirt. So I think for me, that definitely wins.
Many. It'll be hard to pick a favorite, but Rebel Foods, Plum, Mama Earth, WakeFit, Live Space to some extent. So there are tons of brands out there. They've done fantastic job in actually being part of an everyday life and being in the consideration set, which wasn't even there a few years back, to be honest.
And I think with that, we would like to end the session. So thank you so much.